I don't understand the media constantly trying to twist the things I say into a negative way when all I want is better for women. I really don't understand it.
For months, whispers have been growing louder. Rumors that Liz Cambage's sudden exit from the WNBA wasn't just about basketball, but about something far more complicated and far more dangerous to talk about. The questions haven't gone away. In fact, they've only multiplied. What did Liz know? Why has the league remained so tight-lipped? And if there's truly nothing to hide, why does every explanation feel like it's missing half the story? Now, new information, some leaked, some whispered from the shadows, is starting to surface. None of it gives us the full picture, but together it paints something unsettling. A portrait of a league obsessed with controlling its image, shaping its heroes, and quietly silencing the voices that don't fit the script. And right in the middle of it all, two of the most talked about names in women's basketball, Liz Cambage and Brittney Griner. This isn't just about a disagreement, a feud, or a bad PR moment. It's about the clash between truth and power, and what happens when one side decides the truth isn't safe for the public to hear. The deeper we go, the more it feels like we're not just chasing a story, we're pulling at the threads of something the league would rather keep buried. And if what's being said is even partially true, this is a cover-up that could change everything.
I don't appreciate the lies. Don't you ever get sick of lying on my name? Like, sheesh. Don't you have anything else better to talk about?
It started with a screenshot, blurry, cropped, and circulating in private group chats before spilling into the open. Supposedly, it came from an internal WNBA communication. A short memo, maybe an email, maybe a snippet from a larger report. At first glance, it looked harmless enough. Corporate language about maintaining brand consistency and protecting the league's most visible assets. But the more people read between the lines, the more it seemed like something else entirely. There were phrases that stood out like warning flares: narrative control, strategic media positioning, reputation safeguard protocols. Nothing explicitly said Liz Cambage or Brittney Griner, but the implications were clear to those already suspicious. Why would the league be discussing the need to minimize exposure to destabilizing storylines during the exact period both Cambage's sudden departure and Griner's high-profile detainment dominated the news? To the average fan, it might have been easy to dismiss, but in certain corners of the internet, the memo was treated like a smoking gun. Reddit threads picked it apart line by line, pointing to what they called dog whistles hidden in the corporate jargon. YouTube creators built entire timelines connecting the language in the document to moments when Cambage's voice in the media seemed to vanish overnight. The theory? This wasn't just routine PR, it was part of a deliberate effort to protect certain stars, bury certain truths, and control the narrative before it could spiral out of the league's hands. Whether the document was real, doctored, or taken out of context didn't seem to matter anymore. The leak had done its job. The questions were out there, and no official statement could put them back in the box. Not long after the leaked memo began making the rounds, a new voice entered the conversation, someone claiming to be a former WNBA insider. They wouldn't go on camera, wouldn't reveal their name, and insisted any direct identifiers be removed before their words were shared. Their reason? Fear. They said the league had a long memory, and speaking out, even years later, could close doors for good. What they described wasn't a dramatic smoking gun, but a culture. According to them, the WNBA was a place where every public storyline was carefully managed, where certain narratives were pushed into the spotlight while others were quietly suffocated. It's not about lying, they claimed. It's about control. You control what's said when it's said and who says it. The insider didn't directly confirm any specific incident between Liz Cambage and Brittney Griner, but they hinted at an environment where someone like Cambage, outspoken and unafraid to challenge authority, could quickly become a problem. They spoke of meetings behind closed doors, about how to handle players who went off script, and how the league was especially protective of those it considered untouchable. And in their telling, Cambage's outspokenness wasn't just inconvenient, it was dangerous to the brand. When Liz started speaking her mind more freely, they said, it wasn't about whether she was right or wrong, it was about the fact she couldn't be controlled. That's when the pressure started. No documents, no audio recordings, just the words of someone who said they'd seen the inner workings firsthand. But for conspiracy believers, that was enough. The leaked memo hinted at the system. The insider's story made it real, and together they pushed the mystery deeper into the shadows. When you line up the dates, the coincidences feel a little too neat. Liz Cambage's sudden exit happened right as the Free Brittney Griner campaign was at its peak. One storyline dominated headlines, while the other quietly faded away. There was no detailed explanation from the league about why Cambage left, just a vague parting statement. Meanwhile, Griner's situation was wrapped in carefully controlled messaging, with every update filtered through official channels. To some, this looked strategic. Keep the focus on rescuing the league's most marketable star and avoid anything like Cambage's growing tension with the WNBA that might distract or complicate that narrative. The result? One story exploded worldwide, while the other seemed to vanish overnight. Since leaving the league, Liz Cambage hasn't exactly gone silent, but she hasn't told the full story either. Instead, she's dropped the kind of comments that keep people guessing. A vague Instagram caption here, a sly remark in a podcast there. Nothing concrete, but just enough to make followers wonder if she's hinting at something bigger. She's talked about truth coming out eventually, and how some people wouldn't survive the full story. Whether she means the WNBA, certain players, or something else entirely, she never says. That calculated vagueness has become her trademark. To her supporters, it feels like she's holding cards close to her chest, maybe waiting for the right moment to reveal them. To critics, it's just stirring the pot without backing it up. Either way, every cryptic post keeps the theory alive, and the speculation growing. As the conspiracy chatter grew louder, the WNBA's response was nothing, no detailed statement, no point-by-point debunking, just silence, or the occasional carefully worded line about focusing on the game. To many fans, that silence spoke louder than any denial could. If there was truly nothing to hide, why not shut the rumors down directly? Instead, every non-answer became fuel for the theory, making it seem like the league was guarding a truth too risky to admit. Around the same time Cambage left, another lesser-known player's departure barely made the news. No drama, no farewell tour, just gone. To most, it was an afterthought, but in the eyes of conspiracy believers, it was another piece of the puzzle. They claimed her outspoken criticism of league policies weeks earlier wasn't a coincidence, and that she too had been quietly removed from the narrative. Whether connected or not, it fit the pattern in their minds. If you step out of line, you disappear. Around the same time Cambage left, another lesser-known player's departure barely made the news. No drama, no farewell tour, just gone. To most, it was an afterthought, but in the eyes of conspiracy believers, it was another piece of the puzzle. They claimed her outspoken criticism of league policies weeks earlier wasn't a coincidence, and that she too had been quietly removed from the narrative. Whether connected or not, it fit the pattern in their minds. If you step out of line, you disappear. Some point to the way Cambage carries herself now as evidence that she's still playing a long game. She travels, posts freely on social media, and drops into interviews with an ease that suggests she's holding something back. Almost like she's comfortable letting the speculation swirl, knowing that every unanswered question keeps her name relevant and her leverage intact. To those following the theory, it's not just coincidence, it's strategy. She's keeping the story alive without ever crossing the line that would force her hand. And then there's the wild card. What happens if another voice joins hers? The conspiracy crowd is convinced that somewhere out there, another player, staff member, or insider is sitting on information that could blow the lid off the whole thing. One public statement, one leaked message, one slip in an interview could be all it takes to tip the scales. Until that happens, the theory exists in a strange limbo, too much smoke to ignore, not enough fire to confirm. And that space between certainty and suspicion is exactly where the story keeps growing.